So, hello everyone. So, for this episode, I want to talk about the first vice presidential debate, and my first thoughts, kind of about it. For one, I believe they gotta have another presidential debate. I honestly think three would be a good number, right? But it's not like black and white as that. But I think that they should get more chances to speak, and not just because of interviews but of debating, because I feel like you could really see a true person from just debating with them, or even arguing them with them, or talking with them and hearing what they support believe. Like, one of the big things on how you can discern from a liar from a good person, from a liar to a truthful person, is what they believe in. All right, and that goes for basically in all aspects in life, right? You can tell a bad person just by what they believe in. Okay, you can tell that a person is sometimes unfit just by what they believe in, right? But hey, I gotta say this. Okay, first few, like, I would say first 10 minutes when I was watching Vance, okay, I had my eye on him. Okay, I know this guy's a crafty guy, but man, I didn't expect him to be that crafty. Vance, I really think, in my head, like, I'm a precise guy and I can really do good debating myself. Like, but this guy really did a great job. He really did a phenomenal job with his debating, especially kind of debating strategy, kind of the points he went on, and he went time and time and time. I didn't like how he didn't like didn't answer some questions. I don't think I really liked that much. Um, so on and so forth. But you can be a crafty guy. You can be a good debater. But it does not mean you're a good person. Or it does not mean you're trying to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Or trying to make America better. Okay? I hear this idea of the American dream and how the immigrants are stopping it. Okay? There's these 2 points that have really stuck with me personally. That have stuck with me personally from this debate night. Okay? First one's mental health, but I'm going to immigrants because that's kind of like what I kind of am going to. Okay, is that when he talked about immigrants and how he's bashing them, okay, and how Waltz, I really liked what Waltz said about not bashing your fellow man. I agree with the aspect of put America first, but we are in a world system now. We are in a world, and saying, yeah, we gotta like make America the power of the world. We are the power of the world, okay? But we can't. But I don't want to say we can't. But I'm saying how they prioritizing it, some type of word like that, prioritizing, prioritizing, prioritizing. I can't say the word, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. That way of shutting the world off, that's not going to make us, for one, friends. That's not going to make us good traders. That's not going to trade in goods and stuff. Not going to make us good war allies. Not going to make us a good nation as a whole. One of the big things that America has really came to, I think, since World War II, or really throughout kind of in a way I don't want to say the history, especially the early history, but I'm saying especially with the Native Americans and how the Native Americans were treated. But the point being is that America is known for helping people. America is known for having that value, okay? And the thing with it is, too, I really kind of love what Walt said about dehumanizing and the idea of making people enemies, okay? And another thing too, I really like as well, and I love this part here, is he said something about his faith. And man, I did not know this guy was a Christian, okay? And by the way, I know a lot about the Christian faith, Jewish faith. I'm learning, but my point being, I know a lot about the Christian faith, and I loved how he said, "Yeah, I don't talk about my faith that much." And I really appreciate him saying that and that being great because he doesn't like advertise it, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like he tries to convert everyone. All right. Um, and I liked how he said like something in a verse of Matthew, like do unto yourself as you do to the least of us, right? The greatest among you must be your servant. That idea is amazing. Okay, and we see that the Trump-Vance administration, or even Trump Pence had more of an outline of that idea, but in this administration idea now, we don't see that one bit. We see that the survival of the fittest, or the greatest stays greatest, the low stay low, okay? And I like what Walt said, that's not the way, the truth, or the life. That's not it, all right? And by the way, I'm not saying that I'm not supporting Waltz because of his idea of his Christian beliefs. I agree with that way of living. I try to do that, especially not just to the lowest of people, right? Seeing the best and the worst of us, but helping out the undermined animals of the world, or even the creatures like plants, so on and so forth, or even the earth itself, right? And that's really and I think like and I Waltz and I liked how what he said about that. That really I think resonated with me. And yeah, I'm not supporting this guy because he's a Christian. Okay, honestly, for me, I don't really like the Christian community that much, or the parts I know of it. And keep in mind, that's not as black and white. There's a huge gray area there. But that guy seems like a good Christian. Okay, right? And he doesn't sound like condemning or anything like that. And I really appreciate that. And I love the man. He really looks genuine. And I'm talking to a person earlier today about how he looks genuine. I really appreciate that, especially the love of his cats. Okay, now he's kind of an everyday person and an everyday man, okay, not a bigger than life type idea, okay, and I think that's what made the figure of Jesus so appealing to the lowest or the everyday man, is because the idea of him being God was in human flesh, and he was just like everyday man, you know what I mean? He's not like a celebrity, all right, so on and so forth, and it looks like kind of in the Gospels on how it was portrayed. Okay, to my interpretation, it didn't look like he chased after that fame. In no way. The words he said would definitely attract the fame, but it looks like he didn't want that fame. But I don't want to kind of go into biblical interpretation, but that's what I'm getting from Waltz, right? He doesn't want the fame, but he's trying to do the right thing, okay, because it's the right thing to do, and he wants to make the America better, our lives better, and he wants to make the world a better place, okay? That's great. And the other thing that sticks out to me too, okay, is Vance saying something about the mental health epidemic, okay? One of the big things I will say with that, with the idea of mental health, well, he talks about we gotta fix it, we gotta get to the root of it. I don't think there is a simple fix or a simple root, because one size does not fit all. It's not that concrete problem, because I know I deal with mental health. And I want you all to remember this, okay? And I want to share this message as he's talking about sharing that to try and fix it. Well, I think for one, we as humans have to come to the realization, and partly we have to an extent, like, but not not a lot of the everyday people know about it. Even like when I talk about this, I remember talking to some people who are into podcasts, okay, and I told them kind of my idea on this and all of this, and man, guess what? I've never heard back from them. I don't know if they're still working on their podcast room. They still can be working on their podcast room and have me as one of the keynote speakers for this winter. I don't know. I don't personally really care. I care about getting the message over, but to get the podcast, I still can share the message without the podcast. But the point being, it's that our human nature, we as humans cannot comprehend the world. In a way, we can conceive the notion, okay? And conceive and comprehend are two different words, or how I'm using them are different contexts. We cannot we cannot comprehend the world or the nature. The human nature cannot comprehend the world. And when people say, oh, anxiety has went up a high and depression up or went a high because of that, because we are out of our nature. Okay. If you know, um, I don't know if you know the idea of when the Bible talks about sin, or even the Torah or the Jewish law. Like people, I've talked with a lot of Christians in my time, okay, and they kept on bringing this notion up to me about the definition of sin, okay, as we know it, is that when someone fires an arrow at the target and when they miss the mark, they miss the mark. And the idea, and because something's out of its place, I think biblical writers or even the Jewish faith, they really went along that lines as we have some aspects of, we are human. So some of the aspects of our human nature plays through this world we live in now. But this is not what we developed in. This is not we are in a way, just by living in the world we're living, is missing the mark, okay, of what's so in tune to our human nature. And I'm not saying it's the sin, okay, right, but I'm saying that as kind of it's a allegory that people thought back in the old days, right? But it's simpler for us to say, yeah, we're out of our human nature, and that's why I think the biblical text goes, especially in the New Testament. I hate Paul so much for this, in a way, where he just goes on and on about the flesh, okay? And when we talk about the flesh, we're talking about human nature and how we have to crucify it. Okay, that's very unhealthy and that's not good. Like, they took a great concept of the Jewish faith and just ran with it and literally just say, you know what, you're an evil human being of your human nature. That's not entirely true, because human nature, I think, is, I don't say inherently good, but it is very, very good. There's so much good aspects for it, okay? I'll give you some examples. For one, sex. Two, us caring for other people. 3, provision. 4, values. 5, friendships. Okay. 6, just our just how we love, right? That's kind of what makes us different than humans, right? And when and so on and so forth. And I know for my mental health, realizing, hey, I'm out of my human nature. It has helped me out, you know what I mean? Because if I was in my human nature, I would be hunting an animal right now, okay? Or helping to provide for the tribe, okay? That's around probably 50 people, all right? That's where I belong, but I'm not there, so I have to adapt in our world. And they talked about mental health, okay? Keep in mind, with mental health, it's adapting. It's adapting. Our world, we have to adapt, okay? And so on and so forth, right? And that's one of the things I really loved about talking with you all today. So we didn't go on like, oh, who I'm voting for, or really bashing one another. I did apply things, made a great point. But yeah, so those are my first initial thoughts on the presidential debate. But man, it's a shame that they're not having another one. All right, well, with that, and I also loved how Walt said as well, about how Walt says, I'm a person who just tries to do the best he can. That's something to be admired right there, okay? Right? And that's another thing, kind of, I just think, with some of the Christian faith, especially the Protestant side, where they talk about, you're nothing without Christ. You can't be anything without the idea of that, okay? And I really think that's dangerous, and I personally hate that, okay, because it's disabling humans, and it's not like, okay, giving them empowerment, okay, to do the best they can, because it's like, okay, if you say you're nothing, okay, and all your works are vanity, well, with that being said, doing the best you can means nothing, which is not true one bit. Doing the best you can means so much. And I think, like a lot of people out there, just like myself, just try to do the best they can, okay? So with that being said, remember one of the big things, think for yourselves. Develop your opinions. And yeah, I'm very happy with this, my opinionated video, okay? So with that being said, have a nice night.